Welcome back, Sports and Spirits. You
How's it
guessed
going?
it. It's Steve.
It's Josh.
We're here to give you a forecast of what's coming up in what we're going to call Week 6 of the NFL, plus a bunch of other sports.
For sure, yeah. We'll kind of give you a forecast of like basically Thursday night leading into the weekend and what to look out for in terms of the sports world, and maybe mix in a little spirits today too.
Yep. We do have some spirits today.
Yeah.
It is a very limited
Okay.
release from our friends at G4. It's a tequila this
It's a
time.
tequila today. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
This is their Tequila Añejo,
Okay.
and this one was done in their wood fermenters.
Okay.
So Madeira or whatever they call that.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So their normal, like most of their other G4s are done in their stainless fermenters.
Right. Okay.
These ones, the special ones that have been coming out with the almost paper-looking label,
Yep.
those ones are all done in their wood fermenters,
Gotcha. Okay.
which gives it a different flavor.
Sure.
This one here comes in a really killer box.
Okay.
Now, from what I heard, not sure if this is true or not, and there's no way for me to verify it.
Fair enough.
There's only 2 of these in the state.
Okay.
Let that little front one fall off. There it is.
That's the ticket, huh?
I guess. I don't know anything about it other than it's one of the finest tequilas in all the land.
Okay.
G4.
So G4. So we got a Yeho. Looks like.
Check it out.
All right. So we got a 86 proof.
A little bit proofier than
Yeah.
your normal G4s.
Okay. Interesting. And it looks like not a whole lot of like descriptive stuff on here about what's in here. So
No. They keep it pretty secret.
yeah, this is kind of just looks like it's just
Nothing on the box either.
an ode to their 4 family generations like bottle potentially here.
Yeah, and it's for the Dia de
Muertes.
Muertes. It's that edition.
Sure.
So like last year and the year before, they came out with their Reposado, and it came in those coffins.
Yes.
The really cool coffins. The first year they did the square coffins. The next year they did this kind of trapezoid coffin looking thing. So this year, it looks like this might be their special edition for that same type of thing.
Sure. Yeah, so if you're not familiar with G4 tequila, it's generally speaking on the shelf between Blanco. They have a wide range of selections, but they also have like high proof Blanco, which is different compared to most people. The most prominent one that most people have had is probably either an Añejo or a Repo from them. That's what they're kind of known for in the market. But it's really good tequila. So
Good.
We'll give this one a shot and see what we think.
Yep.
Okay, so you're definitely getting floral notes right off the rip.
Huge floral notes.
Like, I mean, and so like, if anybody knows anything, it's a very traditional like Hispanic heritage thing.
Yep.
So that's what they're paying homage to here, since it is tequila made in Mexico.
Yep.
And so it's one of those. It's interesting that it doesn't always necessarily correlate like the price point with tequila with quality. It just is more about scarcity and rarity,
Right.
Compared to bourbon, where it's usually a quality-based thing.
Yep.
So it's definitely something to look out for as well if you're looking for something that's just really, really unique.
Yeah, and these guys here are known for being additive free. So
Correct. Very, very clean, healthy, in terms of...
generally speaking, not going to be one of those ones that's going to give you that hangover the next day because it doesn't have any of the additional sugary additives in it.
Yeah, because when you combine like the sugar components with drinking and stuff, that's when you seem to have issues.
Ooh, yeah. Such a savory sip.
Yeah, it's like it's oddly soft mid palate.
Yep. Yeah, it almost skipped my mid palate.
Yeah,
Like
it
I
almost
felt it on
skipped
the front of my tongue and then on the back, and
It's interesting. Yeah, it definitely. This would be one that'd be really cool too. To throw a rock on it.
yeah,
And just see, how much that would like open that up, maybe.
right.
But it's already pretty low proof, so it's not one of those that you need to like proof down necessarily. It just is. It's a great drink. It wouldn't be something you'd probably take a shot of.
Right.
Being that I'm sure it's not $10.
It's not the cheapest one either.
So
Wow, that's got some really nice, like white peppery, even a black pepper vibe to it on that second sip. Love that.
It gives a lot of odes to like the Don Julio 70.
Yep.
Got that peppery vibe going to it.
Yep.
Yeah, Yeah, that's pretty good stuff.
What's interesting is, I guess I kind of get a little bit of just the slightest bit of like the caramel note from it being in a barrel.
Almost a hint of vanilla too.
Yeah. To where it's like, was this thing an añejo? But it is,
right?
Obviously, but
right.
It's just such a subtle barrel influence that.
Yep.
Wow, that's good.
It's good stuff.
Boom, there it is.
There you go.
G4, the special edition Dia de Muertos.
Tequila añejo, spirit of the day.
Yep. Rock and roll, y'all. Let's get into the sports.
Let's get into it. Yeah, so
NFL Week 6.
NFL Week 6. Yeah, we're gonna kind of just highlight some of the big matchups going into the week. Start on Thursday night. Anytime the Eagles play the Giants in a rivalry game, it's in New York, well, technically New Jersey, this week, and Saquon going against his former team's always talked about. It's just one of those games that people tune into. Obviously, you're gonna have to check it out on Prime. But I think the Eagles need to bounce back. Losing a tough one, against the Broncos. I think this is one where, they definitely should be favored big time here.
They are heavily favored.
Yeah.
7 points, 7.5 points.
Yeah, that's over a touchdown's a big spread favored. So I mean, they should go in there and get the win this week. Just watch out, Jackson Dart. He's very turnover prone so far in his first 2 starts. But he's young quarterbacks are like that. They try to sometimes do too much. Try to stay within himself and see what happens in that game. That'll be something to look for on Thursday night.
Tonight, actually, as you're watching this, that's
tonight. That is tonight. Yeah, that will be tonight. And so...
then game number 2.
Yeah, game number 2 on the docket. You got our second London game in a row. The Broncos are going to play the Jets. It's probably prepping to be a pretty lopsided game, but we'll see. The Jets have played competitive this year. The Broncos are coming off that big win over the Eagles.
Right.
That's going to be one of the, we'll talk about probably the rest of the season, and where the Jets are just kind of looking to grab that first win.
Yep.
It's tough to win in the NFL, and they're proven to have a really tough time of it. At least
they haven't won this year yet.
Yeah, they're winless. So
wow.
Yeah,
I haven't been following them very much.
Yeah,
and I can see why.
Yeah, that's probably why it's not covered a ton.
Yeah.
And so I think it'll be interesting to see if they can do it. Anything happens in those London games.
Yeah.
International in general. I mean, you can't predict what's going to happen over there. It always seems to be something crazy. This past week, you saw the Vikes have a field goal by Will Record hit a wire that the NFL came back and said should have been re-kicked. But live it didn't happen. So
crazy.
A guy who hasn't missed a kick all year, misses his first kick on the season because it hits a wire.
Yep.
So anything can happen in these games. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And then in the noon slate, you got the Colts hosting the Cardinals. The Cardinals came off a really, really, really tough loss this past week, and the Colts are hot. Yep. It's not a team I want to go play right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they have a good chance right here to start the season 5-1. I would say we're running away with the division, but Jacksonville's sneaking up on people at 4-1 too.
They are favored.
Yeah,
the Colts are favored 5.5.
Yeah, I think the Colts win this one. I just think the Cardinals have not had the ability to close.
Right,
that's been their issue. They lost a tough one against Seattle. They lost a tough one against Tennessee. They could easily be 4-1 as well.
Yep.
And so it's one of those they got to lock in, and they should have beat the 49ers.
Right.
I mean, Cardinals could be undefeated right now. So it's the name of the game in the NFL. You got to finish. This I have undoubtedly think that this is the matchup.
This is the game of the week
right here. I think you got Bucks hosting the 49ers in a matchup of 4-1 teams. I think this is going to have the game with the most late season playoff implications.
Yeah.
When it comes to the end of the year, the biggest thing that ends up being the deciding factor is your matchups against non-division opponents that also make the playoffs,
right,
because the first tiebreaker's head-to-head.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about two teams that could potentially win their division, or at least, be playoff teams that are going to compete,
here they are.
I think this is going to be the matchup to watch out for.
Well, if the spread has any implication or forecast for this game, it is the lowest spread of the
1.5,
2.5,
2.5. Okay. So yeah, it's projected to be a field goal game, and I don't think that's wrong. I think it's going to be a close one.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think Whereas on contrary to the opposite, I think the most lopsided game coming up this week is Packers and Bengals.
Yeah.
I do think that the Packers coming off a bye, have corrected some things on offense. They looked really good against Dallas,
Yep.
on offense, but they probably figured out some things on defense. And a good team to get right on is the Bengals because they have not been good since Burrow's gone down.
You must have like, I don't know, like a sixth sense for this type of things because they are the widest spread.
Yeah.
At 14.5.
Like I said, didn't try, didn't look any of this up.
He doesn't have the stats I have over here.
Yeah. Don't have any of the stats.
I've got the spread stats over here. He's looking at our regular sheet, and he's just like spitballing this thing, and he's nailing it.
Yeah. So, well, hopefully it holds true. I mean, I'm hopefully giving you guys information that helps for what to look out for and what to, maybe find another game to watch. That's kind of what I'm trying to do for you.
Don't watch this game, maybe.
Yeah.
Or watch it for
if you're a Packer
implosion.
fan. Yeah. If you're a Packer fan, or if you want to see a ton of points scored against the Bengals, go ahead, tune in.
Yep.
And then I think this has got one of those games written on it that, last year they started the season, they played each other, and 2 years ago, and it's just been one of those things where they kind of been back and forth in terms of these are the teams that are potentially Super Bowl contenders.
Right.
You got the Chiefs hosting the Lions. The Chiefs have had a weird start to the year. They've had some injury issues. They've struggled at times in regards to closing out games, but when it comes down to it, just Mahomes finds a way. I don't know. It's just whether it's Mahomes or if it's the refs, the coaching staff.
Somebody helps them win.
Somebody helps them win. But the Lions on the road, they've beat some good teams so far. It's just one of those things. I think the Lions are still there enough on offense to put up points in this game. It's just going to be, can they stop them? I think this is
on both sides. Like this is expected to be like a high.
I think the over under for the total point score has got to be the highest for this one.
You're right. It's at 51.5.
Yeah, I think both secondaries struggle at times in terms of letting up big plays. This is the Xavier worthy game. Yeah. I think this is the game that if you're a fantasy guy, then you have him. Obviously, lock him in your lineups. But this is the week after this happens. This is when you make the trade. You trade him away. You leverage the fact he has a massive game.
Yep.
You trade him away for the opportunity for somebody who has more consistency long term. You got Rashid Rice coming back.
Yep.
I think this is the one where you can kind of do the smoke and mirrors thing.
Yeah. Look, you just had a killer game.
You want a killer game. You want him for I don't know, a guy that you'd be interested in trading him for would be something like a Drake London,
right.
Maybe a guy that's got higher target volume, something like that. Those are the guys you kind of want to target as the season goes on because targets don't go away when you're the wide receiver 1, but when he potentially could be the wide receiver 2 on his team,
right.
Coming into the next week, that's a guy you might want to consider try to flip when he's high.
Yep.
So that's something to look out for, especially in terms of the Sunday night slate. And we've talked about it before. Every other week, the NFL is planning to try to do Monday night doubleheaders.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think we talked about it. They want more money to be spread out and more games to be watched by all fans. So on the doubleheader, you got the Falcons hosting the Bills at the 6:15 slot, followed by the Commanders hosting the Bears with a rematch of last year's crazy Hail Mary ending.
The Bears.
The Bears. Yeah, that ended on the last play of the game.
Yep.
I think this is one of those that will always be a matchup that's talked about for years to come. You got the top 2 picks in their draft class.
Yep.
Should the Bears have taken Daniels? Should they taken Caleb Williams? Is he the guy? It's
also
always going to be
another game with a high scoring potential.
100%, probably 48.5.
The second highest one at 50.5.
Close. All right, there you go. Yeah. So like I said, and I think we talked about it in the past too. I think that this is a game where you can see a lot of fantasy production.
Right.
So one to look out for sure.
Yep.
I think a lot of points will be scored, a lot of production on your fantasy end, especially on the Monday night. Gotta love having the Monday night closer at the end.
You really do.
You got to. It's a really big key to try to getting the job done. Well, speaking of fantasy,
yeah,
let's talk a few things. I think
like you just said, there's some people that you might want to think about trading away.
Right. Yeah. So if you have an opportunity to trade a player who has a big game when it comes to fantasy football, but they don't necessarily have the safest rest of season projection, whether it's team strength of schedule, the offense around them,
Yep.
Use that as to your advantage over your other league mates because that's going to be the difference between you making the playoffs and winning your championship.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. I'm talking about a guy like Emeka Ibuka. if your team allows for it, see if you can try to throw in a backup RB to a team that's hurting at running back, and see if you can go get a Puka Nakua or a Justin Jefferson that have the safer target volume. Like, although Emeka Buka has been special this year, Mike Evans will be back. You got Chris Godwin mixing in the fold. At some point, there'll be a slight dip in his volume, and if you can get a guy that's got the guaranteed volume, do it.
Yep.
If you can trade a Bill Krosky-Merritt right now, for a guy like, I don't know, a Bijan coming off a bye, or a guy like James Cook who had a bad week, go get James Cook. Like, he's on an established offense. He's the RB1. The Bills are going to be good. Like, that should be a target point for you for sure.
Yep.
Try to target those top tier options at their positions in favor of like multiple mid tier players. So like, if you can afford it on your roster in terms of flexibility, if you can take two guys that are 12 to 15 point scorers and trade it for one guy that's a 20 to 25 point scorer, if your team has the depth, go do it. Like, take a guy like George Pickens and Travis Etienne and trade up for a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jackson Smith and Jigba, guys that are going to be the explosion players in your week-to-week matchups that take you over the edge when it comes to playoff time.
Yep.
That's where you establish yourself as having the advantage over your teammates or league mates in this scenario, and I think that's really, really important too. Like, especially look out for volume. Volume is the key in fantasy. Always the most valuable thing, so that, like, when it comes to receptions, targets, touches, carries, anything in general, volume. Like, Christian McCaffrey this year has not run the ball well at all.
Right.
He has not run the ball well at all. I mean, what has he had? At most, maybe 60 yards in a game rushing, but he scored like 25 fantasy points because the sheer volume and he's getting in the receiving game is putting him there, Whereas like a guy that, like Saquon Barkley, who's in the same realm, he's been getting the volume carrying, but like he's not getting the volume in the passing game.
Yep.
So like, yeah, the injury-prone component's always going to be there when it comes to any player. You can't factor those things in, but volume is important. It is probably the single-hand most important thing when it comes to fantasy football, because if that guy doesn't have an established volume, he could have a dud week.
Right, and that's the only way you're getting points. Like,
sheer volume.
Exactly. It's not like an actual game.
Right.
Like, you're getting points off of yards and touchdowns.
Right.
So if your guy isn't getting targeted and your guy isn't getting a lot of plays, then guess what?
Yeah.
You're not going to get many wins.
Yeah, I mean, like
season.
Jamar Chase last season had 127 receptions, but it was 175 targets. He had one of the craziest seasons in terms of opportunity in the history, and
just
so
didn't materialize.
Yeah, and so to be a Triple Crown winner, that's what it takes. So it's all about opportunity. Like Puka Nakua, if you can get him by all costs, get him. I mean, his opportunity, his target volume. He's on a team that's going to be really good. I mean, and he's established himself as one of the best players in football. So if you can get him in any way possible, go ahead, go do it.
Yep.
Forget about thinking about the past or I wonder what about this week. Just do it.
Yep.
It's gonna be worth it in the end.
Do it every time.
Yeah, and so then the thing that we kind of have to watch out for when it comes to fantasy football is those guys that are inactive,
right?
Or guys that come out through the middle of the week, have some injury issues. Those, if you make those decisions about the backups that are on those respective teams, that could be the difference between winning and losing. For instance, like a guy like Rico Dowdle this past week.
Yep.
The teams that watched out for Chuba Hubbard being listed as out and went and picked him up, he exploded for you for like 30, 32 fantasy points, depending on your league format. Those are the guys that are going to be your difference makers. And if you are on top of it, paying attention to what's going on, that's going to be what happens to you in terms of the season. Yeah, you're gonna have a good game. So, yeah, and we've talked about in the past, it's all about targeting guys in the right matchup. So target running backs that face weak run defense that have established roles in their backfield. Upside is not always better when they have a safe floor. For instance, the guy this past week, Woody Marks, had a big week 2 weeks ago. This past week, he had like 4 touches. Nick Chubb's still their guy there. So like it hurt some teams and it helped others that, played against those guys,
right.
And so target the guys that have the established volume that play the bad defenses. He played a bad defense, but he doesn't have established volume.
Yep. That's the other thing too, is like a lot of people just look at the player and they don't look at the team that they're playing.
Right. Or the biggest thing that ends up being the factor is that when you pick up somebody, it's usually the team they just played.
Yep.
What happened in that game that resulted in them having a big game?
Exactly.
They played a Titans team that they beat the crap out of.
Yep.
I think they shut them out like 26-0.
Yep.
And Nick Chubb sat pretty much the whole second half because they were beating him so bad.
Right.
So it's like that's the reason why his target volume went through the roof.
Exactly.
Because he was put in, in a backup complimentary role. Well,
Yep.
now this week they didn't do that because they beat him so bad that they pretty much took him out in general.
Yeah.
Save him, rest him, health, whatever.
Yep.
And so
the thing is like you got to look at the track record. Now it's
Yep.
a little bit easier because we're in week 6. We're coming into
Yep.
week 6.
100%.
So you have 5 games to look at.
Yes.
Okay, his last game was really good, but what
Yeah.
were the previous 4 like? And make your judgment call on
Right.
all of the work and not
Right.
just, his last game was like this.
100%. Yeah. Established results.
Exactly.
Yeah, and same thing with the wide receivers. Target those guys that are in the high scoring shootout upside games. Those are going to be the guys that push you over the threshold in regards to your fantasy week to week matchups. It's tough to predict at times, but you have to kind of look at there's other ways to look at it. Over unders,
Yep.
point spreads, where the game's being played, the defenses they're playing against, what's it looking like health wise of the other team. You want to stay away from those lopsided matchups because then that's how you take duds.
Right.
So,
Yep.
but yeah.
Hot dang, brother.
And stash any of those upside guys. If like a starter gets hurt, a guy like Rico Dowell now,
Yep.
you stash him on your bench. Don't drop him. Stash him on your bench. Use him in a scenario if Hubbard gets hurt.
Yep.
Guys like Tyler Algier for backup for Bijan Robinson. Guys that are on really good run heavy offenses or receiver offenses that have an ability to be the fill-in guy if something happens.
Right.
We've seen a lot of injuries this year.
Yep.
It's tough to predict. You can't, assume that someone's going to get hurt or not get hurt, but you got to look out for it either way.
Exactly. Just your luck. You trade away the guy that you wanted to stash, you should have stashed, and then
Right.
your main guy gets injured, and you don't have anybody to put it in. Guess what? Chances are now that person's someone else's number 1.
Yes. He's not now, and then you're playing against that guy, and it hurts even more.
Yep.
And
It's
so,
like, dang it.
That's dang. So, yeah, it stings. But I guess let's just talk about a couple highlights here in the
Feeder League. The Feeder League.
Feeder League. Let's
NCAA Feeder League.
Feeder League. Yeah, Feeder League. Nothing super crazy on this week's slate. You got a couple ranked opponent matchups, but not a ton. First off, you got 8th ranked Alabama plays a top-ranked team for the 3rd week in a row.
Do you like Alabama?
Yeah, slight bias. Slight bias. That's my team, but they play a 14th ranked Missouri on the road. So it's one of those things that in college football, especially if you play in the SEC, you get tested every single week.
Yep.
And so even an unranked team is really tough in that division. But Bama's battle tested this year. If they come the end of the season and have some of these big wins, there's no doubt in my mind that they have a chance to beat any team given the situation.
Are you saying the tide be rising?
They're rising. Yeah, there was definitely some issues going into from last year about whether or not this coach was the guy,
Sure.
and I think you had to give him some time. It's,
Get the system set.
you're talking about replacing the best coach in college football
Right.
history. It's not one of those things just talking about some fill-in scrub. We're
Yeah.
talking about the greatest coach to ever coach college football.
Yeah.
Nick Saban. So there's a lot of expectations when you coach at Alabama, especially on the football side.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're seeing them kind of grow into their own this year, and Ty Simpson's been part of that.
That's good.
So, yeah. And then you got the number 1 ranked team in the country.
Ohio State.
Yeah, they go on the road. I do like them in this matchup against 17th ranked Illinois.
I hope so. Number 1 against 17, but we have seen upsets. So
We have seen,
not with that big of a rank difference though.
Well, we saw this past week 7th ranked Penn State go down to a winless UCLA team.
Well, true.
I don't know what their ranking was. Probably like 180. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Right.
let's be honest.
Yeah.
No, anything happens. It's college football.
Right.
Ohio State. They've proven themselves. They beat a tough Texas team early in the year, but we've seen now that Texas really isn't legit.
Nope.
So we'll see what happens in that game. That's a big one for them. And then as well in the Big Ten, you got a 3rd ranked Oregon playing host to a fellow undefeated 7th ranked Indiana.
Ooh.
So I do think that this is probably the matchup of the week.
This could be a big game.
This can be a big game. A lot of implications here. With 2 teams undefeated.
Yep.
Oregon coming off that big win over Penn State. I think they're going to be probably the team that we talk about at the end of the year is that shocked the most people going into the
Right.
season. They kind of came out of nowhere a little bit under the radar.
Yep.
Nobody was talking about them, and now they're here, and people are like, oh, wait, this team is legit.
Right.
Like, we should be talking about them. And so we are. So, I think I do like them, the fact that they're at home, especially with Indiana and travel across the country like we've talked about in the past.
Yep.
But it's going to be a good one to watch. That'll be one to look out for sure.
Hot dang.
Yeah. Well, what do you
We
think?
might as
here?
well round it off here with the MLB. MLB.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah, so
It's winding down.
yeah, so basically, by the time we're filming this, we're seeing the conclusion of the divisional round series.
Yep.
With games every night, you've seen this past week with potential game 5s on Friday and Saturday. If necessary, we'll see if we get to that point. Either way, we'll have a conclusion. We'll have the championship series that start next week.
Yep.
So there might not necessarily be a ton of baseball on the slate for you this weekend coming up, but I guess we'll see as these games happen.
Right.
Being that it's best of 5, it could end at any point.
Yep.
So we'll see. I think we got to throw in a little prediction segment here. I think we got the Brew Crew facing off against the Dodgers. Kind of our early prediction here. And then I think we got Blue Jays.
We kind of predicted that in the recap.
Yeah,
earlier this week. So.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you think? Who do you think's playing the Blue Jays? You got the Tigers, or you got the Mariners? What are you thinking here?
I'm going Mariners.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll go Tigers just to throw it up
Let's
a little
just
bit.
see- let's see what
whatever.
happens.
I think the Mariners have a better offense.
Sure.
I think with the Brian Wu being injured for them on the pitching staff, that hurts.
Yep.
But I do think that it's going to be one of those postseasons that, I think that the top teams might be the top teams. So we'll kind of, talk about those things more in the next week's episode about what we think those championship series look like, break them down a little bit more in terms of, who we think has a chance to go to the World Series. And we'll talk about those things when we get to that point.
So stay tuned for next week's recap because
we'll cover it all. We'll go. Yeah, we'll dive in for sure. All right.
WMBA. This is big.
This is an opportunity here where we might be looking at potentially our last coverage here of the WMBA season. Game 4 will be on Friday.
If the Aces can wrap it all up.
Yep. If they can sweep it up, we'll see. And then we'll have seen Game 5 would be potentially on Sunday.
Right.
So something to look forward to if we get to that point. So it's going to be one of those. It's the first of the best of 7 in WNBA history. So anything can happen. Whenever there's a first, there's always a will for something crazy. But either way, it's been a interesting season. Very injury plagued season for the WNBA.
Yep.
A lot of big name players injured.
Players.
The
biggest.
Yeah.
Some people think she's the biggest.
Probably. I mean, top 2 for sure.
Yeah.
And so one thing that we learned is that the game is growing. They're expanding. There'll be an expansion team next year.
Yep.
In Canada, Toronto. So they are going technically in a sense they're leaving the States. Yeah, there'll be a Toronto team next year. So
crazy.
Yeah. So the league's expanding. We'll see if that continues to generate more revenue or not. But either way, it was a good season, and we'll see if we have more coverage for you next week.
Only time will tell.
Yeah.
Well, we will. We'll recap it.
We'll recap what happened. Yeah, we'll talk about what's going on, maybe. And then I guess
here we go.
It's upon us.
It's ice time.
It's ice time. A little stick and puck.
Yep.
You got the NHL hockey season.
Pretty exciting.
First games happened on this week. So you're gonna see the Wild's opener tonight. It's on Thursday. When you're watching this, it's tonight. So it's going to be one of those things where hockey's going to be a tough thing to cover. There's going to be lots of games. You're going to have anywhere from 4 games up to, 6 to 10, to 12 on a given week basis. But we'll try to highlight some of the big matchups, whether there's some rivalry games. We'll definitely cover the Wild just because, prominently that's kind of where we watch most.
Yep.
And, but then we'll just talk about all the things that, come up hockey, streaks that happen, teams that are going on runs, teams to look out for, and it'll be an interesting season. It hasn't really set in weather-wise yet.
No, it's been really warm.
It's been really, really warm
here in Minnesota.
In Minnesota here for hockey.
Yep.
But yeah, it's coming. It's around the corner. It's exciting, especially for you stick and puck lovers out there.
Exactly.
I know you're excited. Sitting back in an arena, and so it'll be a good time, and we're excited for what's to come. So,
well, the other big thing to forecast for the channel itself, Sports and Spirits, is, as this thing keeps growing,
100%,
we're gonna have to move to daily forecast, daily recap. So,
right.
Eventually it'll get to that point where this is just what we do. We wake up in the morning and we tell you what happened the day before, tell you what's going to happen that day, and
for sure,
we'll give you your daily dose of sports.
Yeah,
and spirits.
100%. Well, and be on the lookout. NBA season rolling around too.
Yep.
You got preseason starting up, and you got a couple weeks we'll dive more into that and talk about some like early season predictions and guys to look out for. Guys who we think are going to have big years, whether it's our MVP favorites, teams to look out for, and it's exciting. I think we're in a good state in the NBA where it's one of the most balanced we've ever seen.
Yep.
And the West is still the West, the powerhouse.
Right.
The West is the favorite every year they go to the final. But it'll be interesting. I think you could see some shock teams on the East. I'll throw out some predictions out there that you could see some crazy teams make runs this year that we didn't expect. But
stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that, and it's going to be a great season. We're excited for it, and it's going to be great.
Buckle up, y'all. That's this episode of Sports and Spirits. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And just buckle up because this thing's just getting started.
100%. Yeah. And feel free to let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what other things you want to see covered, whether that's the college level, other pro sports,
right.
We'll cover it. If you guys want to see it, just give us some heads up and
exactly.
We'll dive in.
Literally. If you want to watch diving, college diving, we'll do it.
Yeah. We'll cover it.
We'll
if you
figure
want
it
to see
out.
it. Yeah. You let us know.
Yep. Rock and roll. Until next time, we'll see you later. Peace.